This is Season 2 of the Books as Bad as Twilight podcast,
where we're reading Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by Jack Thorne.
Visit us at our website, www.babatpodcast.com.
Get lost with us in the magical world of Harry Potter.
Not
Season 2.
Indeed, okay.
Audible.com.
That just made me, what's that commercial?
Expedia.
Yeah, or is it? Yes,
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, girl, I got you. Shit.
You know me. Okay.
I am seeing what I could recommend off of Audible this time around.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I wonder if they have the Gentle and Bastard series.
They might. You know, actually, I just remember we have to give our recommendation. For what book.
Shit.
Let me look real quick. I hope I made notes for that. I think I did. I did. Okay. I only have two.
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say, aren't you recommending Carry On?
I was thinking that. I also have Time Traveler's Wife here. Have you ever read that?
No.
It's a good book.
I haven't even watched the whatchamacallit.
The movie is, I mean, it's fine for what it is, but if you want to get the real picture, it's really good, the book. Mm-hmm. It's very, its interpretation of like time travel and stuff is really interesting.
I remember which one I wanted to look up.
Okay.
The recommendation. So go on. I'm listening as I look it up.
I was just going to say, like, the way time works in that is just so cool and such a unique take. And I just love how solid it is, how she wrote it and she knew her boundaries. And that's why actually some people don't like it, because they don't like that. Well, I won't even say, in case you do read the book.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they don't, like, basically how time works in that is that, like, this boy, he can time travel, but he can't change anything when he time travels. I mean, it is kind of like Harry Potter a little bit. I mean, it is actually like the Harry Potter books in that when he goes back, what will happen is going to happen. So, like, his parents die in a car, or his mother dies in a car crash. He can't stop that, no matter how many times he travels back.
Yeah.
And that's the awful part. But I love how solid it is, and it's just such a good book. Oh, I need to reread that.
Yeah,
so
go
good.
for it.
Yeah, there's so many good books I need to reread. I'm actually thinking of starting like a mini podcast where I like reread books that I really like loved in the past or are favorites, and I might just like post responses to it online.
That's not a bad idea.
Yes, I might do that. I'm thinking about it, but we'll see.
I found the book.
Cool.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what it is. I'm excited. Okay.
I have to read the reviews on it and whatnot. Go on. All right. So, wait. What are we doing today, Danielle?
Oh, well. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to Books as Bad as Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Danielle.
And I'm Brittany.
And today, we are on our final episode. Well, I guess not final, but our final episode talking about the written play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Mm-hmm. As mentioned, next episode is going to be the episode where we talk with a special guest about the play itself.
Yeah.
Actual scene, the play.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're talking about the script and what we thought of it as a whole, our issues, what we liked, and all that fun stuff. We're going to have some book recommendations, and it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
So if you didn't listen to anything, listen to this, and basically we're going to hash it all out fully.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, this is like our summary episode where we just basically, like, usually we talk about the book in chunks at a time and get really specific about things. This is talking about the book as a whole, and it's going to be a fun time. So, quick note before we begin, this episode is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible is the leading website of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And today, you can visit our special link, audibletrial.com/BaBaT for a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook of your choice. So, toward the end of the episode, we're going to give our book recommendations, which are probably on Audible.
Mine probably won't be, so I'll recommend a different book at the time.
Gotcha, okay.
Mine's an old book.
Well, actually, why don't you recommend your Audible pick then?
My Audible book is The Lies of Locke Lamora.
Nice.
It's the part of the Gentle and Bastard series. This was a book that my dad actually recommended to me when I listened to it, and I loved it.
Who writes it?
It is... One moment, please. Lies of Locke Lamora is by Scott Lynch.
Okay.
So it's a story of this man named Locke Lamora, who was an orphan boy, but very smart and very good at trickery. And you get like flashbacks of his past, but he runs a gang of thieves. And so they just like making these bigger and bigger thieving schemes. And like the first book is absolutely amazing. The sarcasm in it is phenomenal. Like I've never actually laughed out loud reading or listening to a book before, and you do with this. It is so good, and the descriptions in it are great. The rest of the series, it kind of goes downhill a little bit, but not a lot. I just feel like there wasn't the same kind of time and dedication to as it was in the first book. But the first book is amazing, and I will listen to that time and time again.
Cool.
And like there's drama and romance, and there's really well developed and fleshed out characters that make you laugh and cry, and there's mystery involved. It's so good.
Okay.
So that's the one I would recommend.
Cool. Very nice recommendation.
Oh, thank you.
Right, and you can get that title and many more. So many more. What's it called again?
Lies of Locke Lamora.
Okay, Lies of Locke Lamora. Gotcha.
Spelled exactly how it sounds.
Cool. You get Lies of Locke Lamora and several other titles if you visit our link, audibletrial.com/BaBaT. You can get a free audiobook and a free 30-day trial, and you get to keep the book forever, even if you don't subscribe to Audible.
And Lies of Locke Lamora, I looked it up, is a $40 value on Audible. So
That
might as well get it for free.
That is a great... That's perfect.
Just to let you know.
Good note, Brittany. All right, shall we begin then?
Yes.
So, if you are familiar with the podcast, you know how this goes. If not, let me refresh you or introduce you to the concept of what this episode is. Basically, we've talked in depth about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and now we've reached the end, and we want to talk about the play, the book as a whole. And so what we're going to do is on our website, Brittany and I both have some points about what we think makes a good book.
Correct.
So we're going to go through those points. Each of us have 5. We're going to go through them together and talk about whether we think Harry Potter and the Cursed Child was as bad as Twilight, or better, or on par with it. And hopefully we'll come to a solid conclusion.
Oh, look. My recommendation is on Audible.
Oh, so we'll be able to talk
later.
about it at the end, yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
It's only 4 hours long. That's a short book.
Yeah, that's... I have a thing for short audiobooks. Like, I do like them. It's like, oh, nice. Just get through them in a few hours. You know why I like it? Because I just add it to my list of books read. I'm like, yes.
Done.
That's how I do
That's
it.
really funny, actually.
So, we're going to go through our list, and then at the end, we're going to give a rating. Our rating is based on critiques that we... or not critiques, subject matter that we have made up for the show. So, it's not our actual rating. Like, you'll find if you go on our Goodreads pages, we're not rating the book what we rate it on the podcast.
Correct.
We're giving it a specific rating for the show, and we'll talk about that when we get there. We'll also have some recommendations. So we rate these books that we read on the show between 1 and 5 stars, typical rating, except that in this show, each star has a criteria. So if we rate it 1 star, it is hot garbage. If it's 2 stars, it's lukewarm garbage. If it's 3 stars, it's as bad as Twilight. If it's 4 stars, it's brain candy. 5 stars, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I don't think we're ever going to read I wonder if we ever will read a book on here that would be like 6 stars. Like, that would be above okay.
That's like actually a good book.
That would be interesting. But we'll get to it when we do.
Yeah, if we do.
Yeah, if we do. So true. So, with all that being said, I guess we can just jump in to our rating of this book. I mean, not rating. What am I saying? Our
criteria.
Criteria. Thank you. Thank you. So, do you want me to start, or do you want to?
Sure.
All right. So my first piece of criteria for what makes a good book is technique. How well is the book written? Does the book merely mimic what actual good books do, or does the author actually know what they are doing?
That's a little difficult because we have a play format.
You're right. I agree. So I'm going to try to answer this as best as possible through the lens of looking at it as a play. There's definitely technique in this play for sure.
Yes.
I think I would be on the level that the technique is often used to manipulate rather than do something worthwhile with our characters. If you catch what I mean. Like, so last night we talked about the scene where they're watching Harry's parents die.
Yes, and how we see Hagrid come back and see the rubble of the home and stuff like that.
And that's a very specific example, but I know we've talked about it also throughout the show. Like, there are just some scenes to me that there's definitely, like, technique behind it when it comes to, like, writing a play, but I think oftentimes for me it falls flat because it just seems like fan service and not much depth to it.
Okay.
So there is technique. I'm kind of in the middle with that one.
That's hard too because it's not a standalone as well.
Yeah,
you have to pull in these other things.
I know. That's why it's
that's a very hard thing to critique.
And
at
even
this part,
and if we're
this book rather,
and if we're looking at the play, the script specifically, how well is it written? It's okay.
Yeah,
there are some good parts and there are some really bad parts.
There's some really good lines in it.
So does it mimic what actual good... It mimics what plays do, that's for sure.
Okay. So yeah, good.
So we're getting there, you know. So yeah, that's a very hard question for me to answer with that one, with that judgment. This is going to be actually harder than I thought it would be. Yeah, I'm just going to say it's okay with the technique.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think... reading a play, even though it is a rehearsal script, I think I would like more stage direction.
Yeah.
Because and I know with plays you have a lot more liberty to do things how you want. We discussed before when someone reimagines Macbeth. Oh no, I said it. Oh no,
Brittany.
Do you see how wide my eyes?
Yes, because I thought about it and I thought, is she going to say something? And you did.
Oh, damn it. When they redo the Scottish play, you know, like they reimagine characters and scenes and stuff like that, put it in the modern era. So in that respect, you had to take out the stage direction as given. But when we have hardly any stage direction, it's hard for just the reader to imagine it because we're not producers, we're not directors. Right. You know, I know we sat here and we played with ideas how it would look on stage, but there's no definite direction.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Yeah, that's the hard part with it being a rehearsal, which I kind of think of it that is an excuse because I still don't think we actually got an actual play script.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What is your first?
My first one is interesting. Is it interesting? Does it hold my attention? I am a very lazy reader. If it's not holding my attention, I often give up. And I don't think this... I agree with you. It's okay. On the scale of interesting because this is the second time I picked up this book. The first time I gave up on it before even Act 2 because I was not interested at all. Yeah. And I think that's a failure when it comes to something that has such a history.
Right, yeah.
Now later on, as I've said previously, I didn't even write show notes because I was invested in the story at this point. But it shouldn't take me until the end of Act 3 to become invested in the story. Right. So, okay. I think, and we've touched on this quite a few times, if it wasn't Harry Potter, I'd probably be more interested in it because you wouldn't have all of this backstory to start with. You'll kind of be already in the moment. And I think if it wasn't Harry Potter, I would enjoy it more. So it's a solid okay.
I agree with you 100%. Because I think that there is something to be said about, like, when I read a book, like, especially when it comes to maybe like a classic, if I want to read it, I really do. But if I can't get interested, then I'm not going to read it, and I will, and I will give up on it. And it is a shame that you can't get interested until the end of Act 3, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So I would agree. It needs to be somewhat interesting throughout the whole thing, not just the end.
Correct.
Yeah. So all right, nice. My next one's interesting. Interesting that you talked about interesting, because you have to have something that actually interests you when you're reading. Yeah. My next piece of criteria is challenge. Does the book reach a deeper level that transcends the pages? And this is another hard one to answer.
Because Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
Well, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it depends on, like, when you pick up a book, it depends on your own background.
Right.
So when we were discussing a lot of father and son aspects of this play, you and I did not agree.
Right.
In a lot of them, you and I had a lot of, like, conflicting views when it came to it. And I think that's because we did grow up in different families.
True, yeah.
So I think that's interesting. That's your criteria, when I think that it is challenging stuff.
Yes, that's where I feel. So let me take the time real quick, because as you were talking, I was kind of thinking practically the same thing you just said. So
cool. I'm sorry I took it out of your mouth. That was your criteria.
No. You didn't take it out of my mouth, because I was trying to piece it together in my own head. So you kind of helped me do that, because I was thinking, like, there's a difference to me between a book being challenging in the ways that it's challenging, like, our views, versus being challenging to the text that it's related to.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay. And I think that in some ways it was challenging to both of those things. Because like you just said, we had very different opinions about things, and that had to do with, our own family history and stuff. I think that this play was much more challenging to the text than to me as a reader.
Okay.
And for me, what I'm looking for is challenging me as a reader. It definitely challenged me to think differently about Harry Potter, but again, that's the text.
Okay.
Okay, that's kind of actually both, but
yeah, I was gonna say both because we're bringing up Petunia and stuff like that.
Yes. So, and I wouldn't even say, like, sometimes when I brought up certain things, I wouldn't say it was challenging me. It more kind of presented a different idea versus, but that's not a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Yeah. So like this play didn't move me to think differently about the world around me, and okay. So challenging definitely to Harry Potter.
Nodding vigorously.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Audio
right.
medium.
I didn't even think about it. I'm sitting here. I'm like, yeah. God, we have to do better. It's definitely challenging to the Harry Potter text in ways that I don't like all the time. Sometimes I think it's interesting, but in terms of being challenging for me as a reader, I come to it and I think this is juvenile, and why? Just why?
So it fails that
one
for you.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any opinions on that. Or...
No, I agree with you. The challenge is more surface level than it is on a deeper level. This isn't questioning my relationship with God or the government or like anything like that. Good point. I'm not reevaluating aspects of my life. So you're right. I understand what you're saying with that.
Yeah. Cool. All right, awesome. What's your next one?
Consistent.
Okay.
Does it follow the logical flow and the physics of that world? Absolutely not. That is a solid fail. The fact that we spent so much time discussing how time works in this book, and the fact that we sat there with the spells and be like, no, like, Expelliarmus does not bring the wand towards you.
I forgot about that.
All that type of stuff does not follow the physics of this world. So that's a solid no. I'm not even going to elaborate on that.
That's fine. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, that just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just so funny.
Huge fail.
That's so funny that's one of your criteria. Oh, wow.
It's like I wrote it for us.
And that was kind of how it was for me with Lost in a Book.
Yeah.
So that's so funny. All right, cool. That's just so funny. I don't know why I'm laughing so hard at that, but that's just too funny.
Throwing it back to you, Danny.
All right.
Danny Elliott.
Yeah. I'm like wiping my eyes and I can't read my stuff. Okay. Originality. Does the book do something new and interesting? Yes. I don't know. Let me try to talk.
Yours is so vague when it comes to this one.
Yeah, it is vague, actually, because originality, I mean, it's hard to even talk about that because this is already based off something that it's not original. It's based off something else.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything to say about this. And
Are you ready?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Piggyback on this if you want. No.
Okay.
Because in a world that, like, we all have so much creativity and we know of things called fan fiction.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say this is not very original in the writing itself. Now, how the play is presented, it could be phenomenal. It could be, like, incredibly innovative and original. We don't know. We haven't seen it. But as a story goes, I'm going to say no. I've seen things far more creative in this world than Voldemort having a daughter that is time jumping.
Okay, yeah, when you just said that Voldemort having a daughter, of course, why didn't I think of that? Duh. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's things that, like, as a writer, and I don't know if you can speak to this as well, but, like, sometimes I'll think about where a story could go, and always my first instinct is almost always wrong. And I feel like this play is, like, the first instincts for everything. Like, of course Voldemort would have a daughter, and of course they would transfigure themselves to look like Voldemort or Harry. And of course, Albus would be sorted into Slytherin. Like, it's just these things that are so...
artificial.
Yes, that's a great word. Artificial, yeah, because Harry Potter, like you said, a lot of people have been equating this to fan fiction. And I think they equate it to that because it takes characters and it has them do things that doesn't make sense to their character or the world. But there are better fan fictions out there. Like, it's almost like fan fiction is better than this.
Oh my God.
I mean, it is.
It really, honest to God, is. Because I feel that there are fanfics out there that I've read that keep it in the same exact world and are able to transfer the personalities from the books into their own world and just continue on with the storyline and not making it in an alternate universe.
Right.
You know, this is definitely 100% an alternate universe because it's the only way it makes sense.
And it's a shame now that you're saying that because I was reading a book, the one I showed you about Harry Potter. It was essays written about Harry Potter, and it was written before the 7th book came out. Yeah. And one of the essays was talking about fan fiction and how J.K. Rowling, for a small amount of time, actually did not want people writing fan fiction. And it's crazy to me that it's just kind of funny where we've ended up because she herself has endorsed a piece of fan fiction that to me is far less creative and less imaginative than fan fiction that she tried to stop people from writing.
Oh, you mean like when the Sorting Hat had a dick and fucked Hermione?
Brittany, I have not read that one. Brittany. Well, it makes more sense in this play.
It is such a poorly written one, but it's so funny.
If you can find it, we can link it in.
It's on the Potteratics.
Oh, is it? Did they read it on there? Oh, okay. Well, we'll link to it then.
I don't know if they read it on there, but it definitely is a thing in the community.
Okay. If you can
honestly,
find it.
It came up again last week.
Oh, really?
In the group. Is it in that group or a private group that is a subgroup of that group? I don't remember. But it was really it's really gross.
It sounds disturbing. Like,
not to yuck someone else's yum, as someone wrote. Oh my God. Not to kink shame. But if a hat is your go-to,
look,
that is your thing.
We're accepting. We're all loving here on the Books as Bad as Twilight podcast, except the bad books.
As long as it's consensual and people are of age, I don't care.
Fair point. All right. What is your...
So gross.
I know. All right, what is your next?
My number 3 is relatable characters.
Ah, okay, interesting.
So, relatable in the sense that I relate to them, it's okay.
Okay.
Relatable characters in the sense that they are relevant to the first 7 books, no.
Right, okay.
Because Ron's not the same person. And I'm not going to beat this down because we've talked about it several times. The characters aren't the same. The personalities are not the same. The only 2 characters I felt are genuine and relatable and honorable to the original series is Scorpius and Ginny.
I knew you were gonna. I knew it. Yeah.
Only 2 that, and a little bit of Draco.
Yeah, for sure.
A little bit of Draco. Yeah. Those are the only 3 characters of all of them that I feel are true to the story and also relatable. But when you look at the grand scheme of things on relatability, yeah, I if you take them in black and white, I can see Ron's character existing. I could see Hermione's character existing, and even Harry's. Like, even though he is a dullard, like he is a very like naive parent, it's still relatable.
Right.
I could see McGonagall existing and being like a pushover, not McGonagall. If it was someone else's name, like Mrs. Smith, right. Sure, let's. Oh no, that's actually her real name, Maggie Smith. Mrs. Jenkinson, like, yeah, that's Headmaster Jenkinson. Like, she's always been a pushover. So yeah, like, right. it could exist in the world. So they are relatable in a sense, but I think it's lackluster to the characters in themselves.
I would agree with you 100%. Yeah. And I'll also piggyback off you because one of mine is also characters.
Okay.
And so for my criteria, it says the characters feel alive and 3-dimensional. Mm-hmm. But I think that you're bringing up very good points that, like, we have something to base them off of.
Yes.
And that's kind of the hard part. This is, technically speaking, this is like an adaptation if you think about it.
Yeah.
And that's where the hard part comes in, because when you talk about an adaptation, you have to separate it from the original work. So maybe it's actually not no, it's not. What am I saying? It's similar to an adaptation, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's I
think adaptation is a good word, but the fact that they say it's canon.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a gray area for sure.
For sure, yeah. And again, piggybacking off of you, I think these characters, they could exist. I could see that. But I also think that there's a lot of tropes being used that are just so bothersome. Like Ron with the dad jokes. Like, it's just not... For me, it's not that funny. Like, for me, I kind of see through it, and I see it, and I'm like, of course they would do this. Like, because they want to get laughs. That's why they're doing this. For me, it feels cheap. And I read a lot of books like where I'll see this used, and I immediately am turned off by it. Mm-hmm. So please don't think that it's because, like, it's Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It happens a lot, especially with movies and books and stuff. Like, I'll watch them and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And I see people laughing and I'm like, no, stop it.
Don't encourage this.
Yeah, don't encourage this. This terrible writing. But yeah, the characters for me, like you said, Ginny and Scorpius, they were great.
Yes.
But that was just not enough for me. Like, there was just moments, but like the characters for the most part were just...
How do you feel about Delphi as a character?
I like the idea of Delphi. I don't like her execution.
Okay.
Like, because if you, like we were talking about, like, I think she is like a sad character when it comes down to it. Mm-hmm. But I have as a character, if she was a good character, I think when we got to the end and we realized her fate, I think I would have felt awful for her, and I would have really felt that. And I didn't feel anything for her. Like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. I felt nothing. I'm like, okay. Like, and it was such a lackluster ending, It just... think that went along with her character as well.
It really was a lackluster ending because like you build up this whole, like, the scene when it comes to Draco and Harry fighting in the kitchen was more exciting than the fight between Delphi, Harry, and Albus.
Yeah, agreed.
It just it it was a very big letdown, kind of like Twilight.
Kind of like Twilight.
And I'm talking about the end of the saga because I
Yes.
don't remember the books specifically how they ended. But
Why not, Brittany? Just kidding.
it's been a long ass time. I'm so old.
I was about to say yes, you are, but you're younger than me.
By a little bit. But it's a lackluster ending.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And what did you think? What about your thoughts on Dolphy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for as little screen time as she had, she's supposed to be playing a bigger role.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if she was there more, even like if she like snuck into the different timelines with Albus and Severus, and like you see her like, and obviously if it were a movie it would be more applicable, but just like dotted in the background,
Right.
kind of more like symbolism and like things like that, so you don't notice it right away because you're distracted by main stage and like she's off in the crowd. Like I think that would be interesting, but this isn't a movie,
Right.
and it's definitely not. This is a play.
But even
So.
even that, what you just said, I think this would have been better if we had, like you said, more time with Delphi.
Yeah.
If we had a scene aside, seeing her as a child, instead of seeing Harry in his dreams as a child, see Delphi as
Yes.
a child, her upbringing.
I think that would be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, because then we would actually relate to her.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, like you said, she doesn't have much screen time.
No.
And I think a big issue, too, something that I just kind of realized, is that she is sort of played off as like this manic pixie dream girl, which, are you familiar with that term?
You used it last season as well.
Yeah, well, Belle was a manic pixie dream girl. I think she was sort of presented as a manic pixie dream girl, something that is very spontaneous and fun and daring and does things fun, and just the ideal woman like that, just is so crazy but so lovable because of her like that. And there's no substance to that oftentimes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it changes, and it's like, did the play actually think that we wouldn't? It's just a cheap gag to me.
It's interesting that that's how you see it. I didn't see it like that.
Oh, what did you see?
I just saw her as a completely useless character until the end. And I didn't feel that I was supposed to relate to her at all. I felt reading this that she was just a vehicle to move parts of the story. Just like a celery stick for peanut butter. It's just the relationship between Albus and Scorpius is the peanut butter, Delphi's the celery, and everything else is the raisins on top,
Right.
So I feel that somebody wanted the focus to be on the Harry Albus relationship, and they started writing it, and they thought, this is not enough drama. Delphi is added to the mix. That's how it feels that way.
So like
me.
she's just like an add-on of us.
It was a tack on at the end because she doesn't have much screen time, and this is based solely to bring Voldemort back.
Right. And that's another thing I don't like, that the play relies on an old villain, basically.
Yeah.
So it couldn't even come up with a villain that's separate from Voldemort. It always, they can never have problems outside of Voldemort. And that in itself is just so uncreative to me. And I will tell you, I do agree with you about what you just said. I think for me, when I was reading it, I kind of read it like, okay, I see this character. I know, I just know that they're going to be using her later, but I think it's stupid. And I agree with you. I don't care about her. Why would I, I do wonder if there are any people who really liked Delphi when they came to this play.
Yeah. Listeners, we're going to put up a poll when this episode comes out.
Yes.
Do you like Delphi? Did you have any emotional attachment to her? Now we're asking people who have both seen the play and read the book, because that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So vote about it and then comment whether or not you just read the book or if you've also seen the play.
Yeah, we'll definitely put that up. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right.
What about you? What's your number 3?
Well, mine was characters, so do you want to go to your next one?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Number 4, coherent. Does the story make sense through the entire thing? And I think that also calls back to my consistency. But the consistency is more about following the magic system, and the coherency is just like, do the people react the way you want them to react? Like, does it follow the correct timelines and everything like that? And I ran into the same kind of problem last season where I want to change up this criteria a little bit. I was listening to a very interesting podcast yesterday with Brandon Sanderson, and they're talking to this other writer, and I forget what it was called. I think it's called Session 12. Okay. It's a podcast of all writers coming together and speaking, and they are talking about how much people don't think about economics and environment when it comes to their writing, especially fantasy writers.
Yeah.
And so the one trope the one gentleman felt was overused and doesn't make any sense is a city in the desert. Because he worked with the environment a lot, and he had said there's only 2 cities in all history of the world that have not developed into cities later on, but started as cities and sustained as cities. And I forget what the other one was, but it was not far from Egypt, and it had proper trade routes, and they were able to develop this rain catching system, so it was able to sustain the city with water. And it was very, very advanced for themselves. And the other city is Las Vegas. And that only exists because of the Hoover Dam.
Right.
And this other city only existed because of their rain catching system. Otherwise these cities wouldn't exist whatsoever. Yeah. So in fantasy writing and like all those like dystopian and like future, you will never have an actual real city developing in a desert with no resources like that around.
Yeah.
And so that's what I kind of want to focus on when it comes to like coherency. Does this all make sense? And we are in a fantasy world. I don't think it's coherent though, because when it comes to consistency, the magic's not real. Coherency, the time isn't real. Because if you went back just once, that's going to change a lot of different things. They are seen, they interact with the people around them on several occasions. And yes, you see the repercussions later on, but they are not nearly as great as they would be.
Right.
So I don't think it's a very coherent interpretation of the butterfly effect when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Time ripples.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that
was a little bit of a tangent, but I want you to understand where I was coming from.
No, yeah, definitely. I think it's good you said that, because if you think about it, like, we know it is a fantasy, but it's a fantasy that has been set up for us, that people who come to this play are probably read Harry Potter and probably know how things work. Now, if you really get to the nitty gritty, there are a lot of things that don't make sense in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
However, it is good world building for the most part. It could be better, but it's pretty good for what it does. And we do have a lot of the things that are elements used in this play have been discussed in previous books. And you're right, it's not coherent. It doesn't work with what has been presented. The rules of the universe don't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think it matters even more because this is called the 8th Harry Potter book. And it's, yeah. All right. Yeah.
So again, that one's a fail. So I have a good, an okay. No, a good, a fail, an okay, and a fail.
Gotcha.
So far. So what about you?
All right.
What's your fourth one?
This is my last one, actually.
Oh.
My last one is dialogue. Do the characters sound like real people? This is a hard one, again, because...
It's a play.
Right.
Yours is so hard when it comes to this book.
I know.
That's so
interesting.
interesting.
Because we're judging books, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so... There were several points in this play where characters would say certain things, and I forget how Hermione would say that thing we talked about last night. Where she would end the sentence with "do." I forget.
Yes.
Yeah.
God. It will do.
Now, wasn't that because that makes sense?
It will do.
Yeah, it wasn't. It will do. It was like
no.
that.
It was. It will do. But the sentence before it didn't make sense.
Oh, okay.
She has the time turner, doesn't she?
Oh,
she will do, or it
yeah,
will do. This
yeah,
yeah.
And that's just that's poor. And in terms of
as you're doing, I'm gonna pull up the
yes,
exact
please
thing.
do. Yeah,
please
do. There's just a lot of moments, I think, where characters kind of say things. I think, okay, this is what I think, actually. I just thought that this play is doing a very good job at mimicking what actual dialogue sounds like. But at the end of the day, what we get is play dialogue and nothing more. And so in that way, I think it's a failure on that count. And I guess I should speak more, like when I say dialogue.
Yeah, expand on that, because then that, if it's play dialogue, then that's kind of good then, isn't it? I guess, I should expand on that. So what I mean when I say that is that when I say play dialogue, I mean that when you watch the play, you're like, oh yeah, nobody would talk like this in real life. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, okay.
And I guess that's not always a failure, because Shakespeare uses a ton of dialogue that, and I don't mean like the language of it, but just the way the characters talk and they go into long soliloquies and stuff. What I'm talking about is that when it comes to Shakespeare, he's having characters, talk to themselves, and it's sort of saying their inner monologues.
Yes.
This play is really not doing that. It's more trying to create conversations with other characters and interactions with them. And that's fine, but I think I find that when they speak, it comes off more as they're saying what dramatically works at the time versus what a character would actually say and sound like, if that makes sense.
I agree with you, because this is not set up in a play format like Shakespeare, because all of the character developments and inner thought is placed on the forefront. It's not like an aside. You are developing those speaking patterns just by watching their conversations. But if you're just watching the conversations, it has to play out like a movie versus these random clippets.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because you have the ability to portray what actual conversation is going to feel and look like, because it is visual. And they're not capitalizing on that when it comes to the written form of this play.
For sure.
And like we were saying, when it comes to last season, I feel that there are words in there like she will do, or however it was. I couldn't find it at the moment.
Yeah.
But it just it sounds clunky and a little bit more poetic than it should be, especially that it's in modern time.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, actually, because again, when you read Shakespeare, it is more poetic and more dramatic than maybe real life would be, but I don't want to make excuses for it just because it's a classic. It should be held to the same standard. But like with Shakespeare, what he does is he's taking these inner thoughts of these characters and he is playing with them and seeing what these characters are thinking. And of course it's the stage, so of course they would say it out loud for us to hear, but really it's supposed to be almost like, not a metaphor, but like personifying what is going on in their head.
Yeah.
And that actually is a really creative way to do it. If you have a character wrestling with their inner thoughts and they say it out loud, like somebody would talk to themselves, or again, just to be a metaphor. Whoa.
fucking ghost. Did that give you chills?
Yes, I don't like that. I'm just assuming there was air or something.
Oh,
or
yeah.
maybe...
No, definitely 100% there was air. My paper moved, and we don't know why.
Like...
Yeah, and I agree with you. And also in, like, not making excuses, but in Shakespearean time, plays were their only form of entertainment.
Right.
So it's got to be more grandiose.
Right.
You know, and...
Yeah, that's a good point.
The plays nowadays are not the only form of entertainment. And it's set in modern time.
Right.
You know, like, yes, Shakespearean, it's the whole dramatization of things, but they are going because they want it to be dramatized. It's a lot of Shakespearean stuff are satires.
Right.
You know, so he's making fun of them, speaking in these eloquent ways, like the
Aristocracy.
Yeah, thank you, that word. So he is mocking them for speaking like this. There's no mockery when it comes to this play.
Yeah.
You know, they are just speaking it as if it were natural.
Right.
So I agree with you, and I also agree with a lot of the dialogue being... there are some pieces in there that I find really good that will only translate well visually, though.
Right.
Like when they are having all these like side conversations in McGonagall's office. Like they're speaking over each other diagonally back and forth, you know, and as you read it in play format, like each line individually, it doesn't make much sense because there's 8 people in this office talking to each other over and counteracting, jumping in on conversations. Right. Doesn't translate well to paper.
Right.
So I'm more forgiving of that as well. But there are pieces in there that I feel are very intimate moments as well that are shocking. Like when Ginny says to Harry, I've forgiven you once, but you're making it harder and harder every day. You know, and when Harry says to Albus, or however it comes out, like, I wish you weren't my son, so sometimes I wish you weren't my father. You know, that's like, those are very intimate moments. And not that those are always said so bluntly, but those are things that are said in conversations as well.
Right.
So I think the dialogue's okay. Yeah. From my perspective. Okay. I think it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Dramatic.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely dramatic.
Yeah.
So yours is a fail for the dialogue?
I'd say if you're saying it's okay and say like 3 is an okay and 1 is a fail, I'd say it's like a 2. It's like in between for me. So yeah, not because like you said, there are some good lines, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it's just not enough for me, I guess.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. So what's your final one?
Sustainability. Will I ever read this again? Absolutely not. I will not pick up this book again.
Yeah.
I might see the play.
Yeah, I was gonna say it'd be interesting if we had an opportunity to see it and it didn't break our bank accounts.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not paying more than $75.
Yeah, even that's a lot for like honestly like it's funny you say, would you read this play again? I wouldn't, but I say that, but I never expected to read it again, and here I was reading again for the podcast.
Yeah, because you had to.
Right, exactly. It wasn't like I
had to.
Obviously, like, it was part of it was a choice, but also, like, if we didn't have a podcast, I would not be picking it up again.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, that's fine. I anticipated not picking it up either. You know, I didn't want to. It collected dust, you know, and it's only here because you people made us read this.
Fine, listeners. Full disclaimer. I don't know what I was going to say.
I don't know, because I said you
kidding.
people.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
I don't mean that in the traditional white sense of the phrase.
That's what I was thinking at all, but you said it, Brittany. All right.
Oh my God, that's kind of funny to me.
That is.
So overall, what would you give this play, Danielle?
Okay. So, oh man. Can I think for a second?
Sure.
Do you have?
I'm giving it from our criteria, a 2.
Okay.
Just because it failed 3 parts of my checklist and passed 2. the and they barely passed those two.
Right.
So I would give this, what was it, lukewarm garbage?
Lukewarm garbage. Yeah.
This is lukewarm garbage. And I think a lot of people in the Harry Potter world will agree with that.
Yeah.
As it comes to purely the only written part of this. Now, the play, who knows?
Right.
The written script, if this was the only thing that came of it, I think it's garbage.
Right.
Actually, even as a play, there's still so many plot holes. So
right.
It's still garbage.
Yeah.
There's nothing redeeming about this play, except maybe the audio or the visual and music score when it's on stage.
And so I was going back and forth between 2 stars and 1 star.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I think I do feel this is a little harsh, but I'm going to go with my gut.
1.
I'm going to do 1. I'm doing hot garbage because, again, what you just said kind of clarified it for me and cemented it, that we aren't judging it as the play as a whole. We're judging it by what we get with the script.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ultimately, while I did say like there were some good things, it's just not enough for me. It's just too far. Like it breaks all kinds of rules that its own universe set up. It's just it's just clunky in all the wrong places, plot holes everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's just a mess. And
saying that the play, watching it visually, is giving it an excuse because it's Harry Potter.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm kind of the same way. And I think what you just said is interesting because the score definitely is a part of it. Mm-hmm. The acting is a part of it. Like that. This kind of goes back to what we talked about last episode with ludonarrative dissonance. It's called something else when it comes to a play. I don't know that term, so if anybody knows it, please tell me. Mm-hmm. But it's like separating, because there was like a film criticism where it talked about nobody critiques a film and says that the cinematography is the only good part, and then they say the story was bad. And I'm sitting there and I'm like,
yes, I do.
I agree. I'm like, what? Who would say that? Like, you can say a film is great cinematography, but it's terrible, like a terrible story. I think that goes for this as well. Maybe the story is just awful, but maybe the production is amazing.
Yeah.
But obviously we're not judging that, but
we're judging it as a whole. And when it comes to as a whole, it's missing a lot of marks.
Yeah, for sure. And it's important just to think of that, when you're judging something. Mm-hmm. So
just because something's eliciting emotions for you doesn't mean that it's good.
I was going to say, like, I feel nostalgia when I watch Barney VHS tapes. Is Barney good? No. That's the answer, folks. If you're ever wondering, is Barney good? The answer is no.
Now, Beesbo.
Folks. We're going to be having a nice special bonus for you coming up soon.
Everyone, please watch Beesbo.
I mean, you're going to watch it eventually. I changed your life. Girl, I have so many videos that I watched as a kid that would change your life.
I'm scared of the videos you watched as a child.
I told Brittany, her, if you're ever wondering why I ended up the way I am, Beesbo is a part of it. So now you're going to get a little inner like window into my life.
Oh my God.
And it's going to disturb
funny.
you.
Excuse me.
But anyway, so now it's on to our recommendations. And I think before we begin, it's a good time to talk about our sponsor, Audible.
Yeah, because it ties right in. Go on.
It does. No, that was me. Just ignore it. Okay, so Audible.com is our sponsor for today's episode. And with Audible.com, you can visit... Well, first of all, Audible is the leading provider of audiobooks on the interwebs. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from. And if you visit our special link right now, audibletrial.com/BABAT, you can get a free audiobook of your choice as well as a free 30-day trial to Audible. Once you get that audiobook, you do not have to give it back. It is yours to own for the rest of your life, even if you do not subscribe to Audible after the 30-day trial. So Brittany and I are going to recommend some books that are also on Audible. So we're just going to tie them in together. So Brittany, what is your recommendation? What we should read besides The Cursed Child?
So my recommendation is a very short children's novel by Susan Cooper, published in 1999.
Ooh.
It is called The King of Shadows.
Ooh, okay.
It sounds a little bit more like ominous than it is. I enjoyed it though. It's about a boy who is reenacting A Midsummer Night's Dream in London at the rebuilt Globe Theatre. as it was done 400 years ago. And he is playing Puck in this. He falls ill, is taken to the hospital, and he is in a dreamlike state in which he is traveled back to 1599. And he meets William Shakespeare. He acts in the play. And it's a lot of like nice little drama to it. It has like clippets of the play itself and I think it's a good way to introduce children to play formats and William Shakespeare.
Awesome.
So that would be my recommendation, and it is on Audible.
Indeed, that's awesome.
I think it's like $30 on Audible.
No way.
It's a good amount of money.
Damn, son.
Let me look it up. I think that's a good way to really tie in the fact that Audible, when your free subscription expires and you want to continue on with the service, it's $15 a month. And King of Shadows. 1 second. I can't text at the same time. So, okay. I think it's really neat with Audible when your free subscription expires. It's only $15 a month, and most books are a lot more than $15.
Indeed.
So King of Shadows, if you buy it on Audible, normally it's $21 for a 5-hour length book to listen to. So when you pass your 30-day trial and you're only paying $15, you're getting $10 off. Just to listen to this book then. Right. So it's a deal.
It is a deal. You're right.
So that would be my recommendation. What's yours?
Awesome. My recommendation is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are... I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's such a good song.
It is a good song. I was great on it. A Guitar Hero, just saying. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell is a fantasy novel written directly in contrast to Harry Potter.
Oh.
It's very interesting, and I might be saying this wrong. I don't know if it was originally written in the Harry Potter universe. Oh, you know what? Okay, let me say this properly. So Rainbow Rowell has another book called Fangirl, and in Fangirl, this character loves a book series that Rainbow Rowell specifically based on Harry Potter, but it's not Harry Potter.
Okay.
So this girl is obsessed with it. It's entirely fictional.
It's 50 Shades to Twilight.
Is it that? Well, no. So when I say it that way, what I mean is that she made it fictional so that it would take place in her own universe. So she didn't actually write those books. She just has her character enjoying them as if in our own universe, this character would love Harry Potter and write fan fiction about it.
Okay.
And she writes fan fiction about this book series, and it's really popular. And it's just so reflective of, Harry Potter and writing fan fiction about that. Well, Carry On is that fan fiction that the character is writing in.
Oh, neat.
Now, I don't know if it's her fan fiction.
Fangirl.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like her fan fiction or if it's just based on the book series in Fangirl. I would have to look that up. But either way, it takes a lot of tropes from Harry Potter. And in my opinion, it's kind of like we kind of talked about Harry Potter and its failings at times. And I think what's cool is that everything that I nitpick about the Harry Potter books is fixed in Carry On.
Okay.
It has its own problems, but that being said, the reason I'm recommending it is because, and we didn't talk about this much as I wanted.
Towards the end.
Yeah, which is fine. I think we talked about it enough. But the whole thing with Albus and Scorpius and the queer baiting stuff, and if they were actually into each other or not, and we'll never really know.
Yeah.
This book has two male characters who very much are like Albus and Scorpius, at least in looks. Personalities, not so much all the time. But they kind of resemble like a Draco-Harry relationship.
Okay.
And there are a lot of themes of, gay romance. And so if you read this play and you thought Albus and Scorpius should have ended up together, read Carry On.
Oh.
Because that is a very rewarding book in that regard. And it's just a good book in general.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's quite as good as Harry Potter, but again, it takes the things that I nitpick about Harry Potter and it fixes it so beautifully. Yeah. And I love it. So
good.
Definitely check it out. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. And that is also, I guess I should check.
I do believe it's on Audible.
All right, so the regular price for Carry On is $27.99. So you definitely be saving a lot of money by using that free credit. So Once again, that's Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Oh, yeah.
Making it rain. That was a mouthful of cheese, and that's disgusting.
It's like, yeah, Brittany, come on now. All right, so we're done with The Cursed Child.
Woohoo!
All right, folks, so.
High five.
Indeed. So here's what we have coming up. Our next episode, we're going to be talking with a special guest about the actual play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. She saw it. She's got the deets. Mm-hmm. It's going down.
Should we say who it is?
Sure.
I don't know if this sounds good or not.
Me neither, but you know what? When you laugh, it's always so funny because you see, like, the thing blinking.
I'm trying so hard to, like, project it up.
You did well, I think, but I guess it's still...
Katie Hartung, our image designer.
Yeah.
Woo, she's coming in.
It's really exciting. So we're excited for you to listen to that episode. It's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. After that, we're going to have a special episode and bonus episode. We're going to play a game. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then after that, we're going to have a bonus video episode. It will be in audio form, but we will have it in video as well. So
yeah.
We're excited.
What are we doing in that episode again? I forget.
Beesbo.
Yes.
If you still want to.
Yeah, we'll still do it.
It has nothing to do with books. It's just
gonna be so
horrifying children's entertainment. That's all it is, all right?
This is horrifying children's entertainment.
There you go. It fits. That's why we're doing it.
We're going to be experimenting with a bunch of stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
Totally.
So, you know what? Drop us a line on one of our social media pages. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. We have a Gmail. We have, like, voicemail. We have our website that's up and running, BaBaT podcast.com. And let us know if you have any suggestions to what we're doing. We're doing the video because we also feel that we want to get more people involved and see what we're doing. And there's a lot of stuff that we do behind the scenes. We're very animated individuals, so it's gonna be good for you to see our reactions and interact them with your reactions.
Yes, yeah.
So we're taking the pod and also semi-going in video, but not often. But if you like it, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely let us know if you like it, and we'll try to do more of it as much as possible.
They get to see our pretty faces.
Yes.
So where can they listen to us, Danielle?
Well, they can listen to us on our website, of course, but they can also listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, Podcast Addict, wherever your podcatcher is. So yeah, those are where you can listen to us.
Yeah.
And with that, oh, and I guess we got to give our art credit to Katie Hartung.
Yay, Katie!
Thank you for our artwork. And of course to our music, Kevin MacLeod.
Yay, Kevin!
Yay, Kevin! And
maybe
like
we should get him involved in this.
Yeah.
Kevin, let's do things with us.
Yeah. Come on the show.
Watch Beesbo with us.
Oh, God. Can you imagine? All right. And with that being said, we will talk to you all next episode.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.